I got black friends. Yo, what's going on? Welcome to another episode of Cut the Chat.
Welcome,
no one was ready, were they?
I was ready.
You were ready.
I was born ready.
Welcome to another episode of Cut the Chat. Full team in the building. We're back in the barber shop, and we've got a special guest today.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello. Which one of you is gonna attempt to say my surname?
Go on, Femi.
I can't actually say Irene's surname.
I was just gonna call you Irene.
I genuinely, I feel like I can say it in my head, but then I just don't want to say it wrong.
No, try. Go on.
No, I don't want to say it. You got to put me on the spot. You got to stick it on
Oh, no,
me.
wait. You know what the worst thing is? You see when we ever try and say something Nigerian, or sometimes we get the wrong country, Femi's the first to jump down our throats. Now this is Femi's arena.
Speak your mother tongue.
You got to get English
Speak
wrong.
your
sometimes.
mother tongue.
No, but
I would attempt, but I only just learned Femi's surname last week.
And I can't even say. I can't even say Femi's surname.
What is it? Oh, you're Nugu.
That's not it.
No, Irene, how do you say your surname?
Agbontine.
Go on.
Agbontine.
That sounds easy. Agbontine.
See there?
Go on.
I knew that. I was going to say exactly like that.
Agbontine.
With a little twang on it. Yeah.
Agbontine.
I'm excited to have you here because I seen Irene for many a year in everywhere that it means something.
You know what? It's funny you say that.
No,
It's funny
like-
you say that. I was
no,
going to say
I-
the same thing to be fair.
Everywhere that actually, like, whenever I feel like I'm in a sick place, like whether it's like a premiere or like a really exciting thing, Irene's just there, normal. Like, and I feel like I've come up, but she's just there, like. She's like, I belong here. She was there before me. So, and I've always wanted to know, like, what you do, because it feels like you do everything.
Oh gosh.
But what would you, like, what is your actual title? Like, what do you actually do?
Okay, so I have a brand which is called TTYA London, which is a fashion label for tall girls like me. And then I am also, I would say, I guess it's cultural marketing / a curator. So I produce and curate a lot of events and work with a lot of talent. So under that umbrella, that's me, basically.
There's bare more, you're lying. There's loads more things. I'm sure there's a
it
lot
literally
more.
all falls under
Really?
those two things, but, you know, we'll get into it a little bit more. But yeah,
But
it
you
does
make
fall.
stuff happen, though.
Exactly, I curate.
Like, she's the one to call
Irene's
it.
powerful.
You make things happen.
Irene's powerful.
Awesome. What's everyone's week been saying, though? What's been going on? How's everyone
Irene
looking
went
like?
to Kenya.
I've been in Kenya.
How was Kenya?
Kenya was amazing. I didn't actually get to see much of it. I only went to one area, went to Mombasa. So shouts out to Melody Kane. I went out with her because she supports an orphanage out there. So we took them loads of supplies and we stayed there for a week with them. So it was a very humbling experience. I can't even lie to you guys. It was like back to basics. We were talking about it earlier. It was like back to basics. You know, no hot water, you know, bugs everywhere. Like lifestyle, like village. I felt like I was back in the village going to see my granny.
See? That's what I've been saying.
Old
to
school
Femi.
Femi lifestyle.
You see, when I land, I want to land with Femi and experience that.
Do you know that Damon says that to me because he's like, "Oh, I don't want to come Nigeria with you because when you go Nigeria, you're just in West End
Turn up.
nightclub."
Turn up.
I'm
That's
like,
all it is. You know? When I see the prawns that Femi's eating, the,
The
size
prawn,
of man's
but you
hands,
eat the same prawns in the village. You'd eat the same. Like, do you know what?
But
Being
I
in
want the village prawns there.
Yes.
I want
really.
the village prawns.
They're probably a fraction of the price. That's why.
All right.
Yeah, true. But that's the same as London.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
London's living in a city anywhere, you're always gonna get the best. But like in terms of like entertainment and nightlife and culture, but I guess you still get a cultural experience when you step out of the city. But it's just a very different cultural experience. But you want the rough side, didn't it, as well? You want the rough with the smooth.
I want to see how Femi grew. That's what
Okay.
I want to see. Well, I want to see what Femi was doing
you
after
want me to
school.
be walking barefoot? You want to
You
walk
must see the
barefoot?
Oxfam adverts.
It's not up to that though. It's not up to that now. I don't think
No.
like when I say back to basics, like especially when coming in Kenya, like it was just being like they never had hot water where we were. Like it was still showering with cold water, but again, it kind of humbles you a bit in it because you take. Well, I even me speaking personally, like sometimes you take the everyday essentials for granted. So it's like being like in a place where you're with kids that are just happy with what they've got. Then all of a sudden that Nike crepe doesn't seem so necessary anymore, you know?
There's not hot water in Jamaica though, to be fair.
Say that again?
You remember getting hot water in Jamaica?
When the last time I was over there, and there was no hot water, but it's exactly like you say. It's like after the first day or two, you just keep it moving.
Yeah, you adapt. And it was actually really good. There was a bit of internet, but it wasn't overwhelming, so you could actually have some time to think. I read so many books in the space of that week. That's and like visiting the kids and just understanding how their school structure works, because we're sponsoring quite a few of them to go to school and things like that. So it was just understanding how their school semester and how their structure works, and just taking time out. I think with all of us, we all have quite busy schedules, we're always on the go. So it was nice to just pause for a second and think about what the plan is for the next 6 months, and what I've done up to now, and how I can incorporate because that's something that I definitely want to keep doing, and going back and raising the profile of that orphanage and helping Melody with that mission that she's got. And that was her call to God, to be able to go there and help those kids. So for me, it was needed. And also, again, it was just taking that step to be humble again and feel okay, damn, I'm actually quite good, sometimes in the London hustle and bustle you think, and especially now in this day and age of social media, you see so much of what other people are doing, and so much is put on, you feel putting so much pressure on yourself, and I'm not doing this, or this person's got that, and why don't I have this, and blah blah blah. So to actually have all of that stripped and to go back to basics, trust, it was a good week. I can't lie, it was a very good week.
Big up to Melody, man.
You
feel like more artists, more people in that position should be giving back or going back to the motherland?
I think a lot of people have started going back to either. I went to Jamaica. I was in Jamaica at the same time that Femi was for around Buju, and that was my first time to Jamaica. But again, I went to Kingston and I went to Ochi, so I didn't really go to country either. Yeah. But I guess there's probably a lot. When I was in Jamaica, I was saying the same thing. I was like, Jamaicans are like Nigerians, pretty much the same people in our mannerisms, but just there's so many similarities. But I think a lot of artists are now taking pride in where they're from, and in particularly the African community, because growing up it wasn't something that was very was celebrated as
wasn't
much.
Sexy.
Wasn't
sexy.
But now it's there's a bit of a flip on it, and it's everybody does. It's good that we're inspiring and people are using their platforms to show that and inspire new gen to be able to go home. I try and I'm in Lagos 3-4 times a year.
Mad.
But yeah, Jamaica was wicked. I had the best time. I'm definitely gonna go back to Jamaica. I need to do Montego Bay. I need to do the other side. Yes. But I'm definitely gonna go back. It was lit.
I like Jamaica as well. I had a good time.
Of course you did. That's standard.
I like Jamaica. Jamaica's a good place, man.
They love it. It's a surprise.
That's what I'm saying.
We know this.
I thought I was gonna hate it.
Huh?
I went ages ago. I went in the first time I went was at 08.
Wow.
And I was dreading it. I was like, I'm gonna hate this, man. I always say, I feel like Jamaicans in this country give Jamaicans in Jamaica a bad name.
Why are you stealing my thing, though?
No, I said this ages ago. They're hard here.
Yeah, the Jamaicans here are hard.
Over there, they were just cool. I had a great time. They showed me an amazing time. Yeah, Jamaicans be nice here in the UK, I think. But yeah, it was a good place. I don't
like that. Their best side. Look at their face.
It's true.
No, I'll be honest. My people did let me down today, though.
What happened today?
My people did let me down.
What happened today?
I went to the yard shop before I came here.
What? Okay.
I went to one. I'm not going to name them because I don't want to put my. I don't want to.
You don't want to drag
my people down, innit? But seriously, they're living up to their reputation. Caribbean restaurants.
Service?
It was just. I don't even know what was going on there. First and foremost, it's hot, and I've gone in there. There's no queue, There's no queue.
It's just a mass of people.
There were just people. There were just people in the restaurant. There's no queue. The woman can see me there. I'm come for service, and she's just talking about her own little thing in the corner, and I'm just like, I thought, I'm not gonna cut her conversation. You know what I'm saying? Let her do her thing. 5 minutes goes. I'm on the phone though, innit? But let me go. 10 minutes goes. I'm like, rah. 15 minutes goes. I'm still standing there. I'm thinking, am I an idiot? So I walked out, and I walked back in, and she's still just chilling there. 20 minutes. It took me.
You're an idiot.
To get service.
Why did you speak though? Sorry.
No, but you know what? Why do I need to speak?
You were scared.
I'm in the shop, innit?
What do you mean? Why did you speak?
I come just to stare at people?
You were shook.
A little bit.
Yeah.
A little bit. You know what it is? I don't want to get close. I don't want to get close up because there's people in there that can hear it, innit? What is it? I'm to the blood clot. I don't want to get none of here, none of that.
But maybe on the flip side, she didn't want to interrupt your conversation because you was on the phone.
No, but I was quiet as well, though. I was quiet.
Was you on the phone?
I was on the phone.
Yeah, but you've done this all wrong. This is a bad example. You've walked into a shop, you're on the phone. really you should come off the phone to speak.
I was on a headset. Did you
Yeah,
even
but
know?
no, but you should have spoken to her like she saw you talking to yourself.
She didn't even acknowledge me. That's what I'm saying to you.
No, you don't know what's
Customer
She didn't acknowledge me.
She saw you, but you didn't see her see you.
No, when I
So
came
that's
in
why
there,
you don't think she saw you.
Listen, when I came in there, first thing I did is look for the chef. Like, who's gonna serve me? I looked around.
The chef
When I realised who runs the thing, I'm staring. Just staring. You know, you stare at someone so long, they must think that you're being nosy in their conversation. I'm just looking at her like that. It's a violation. It was a violation. The food was boom though. It's worth 20 minutes.
Well, look.
So that's what our people do. It's worth waiting.
Here we go.
All right, let me run something past you, because this split the barbershop down the middle. So on Saturday, I had so for the last couple of months, I've been talking to a guy on Instagram about him booking an appointment for a haircut for his wedding. Sorted out the date, sorted out the time, and when I'm busy, I don't necessarily look at my appointment list. I would just know, okay, this person's next, this person's next, this person's next. But I don't recall seeing this person's face. I've seen his hair, but it's the first time I'm cutting him, so I don't recognize him. Anyway, so a guy comes in on Saturday, I think it was like 9:30. And as soon as he walked in, I'm like, can I help you? You trying to get a haircut? He goes, yeah. I said, okay, give me 1 second. I'm fully booked. Let me phone to see when the other barber's coming in. So I phoned the other barber. He said he's going to be in about an hour. Yeah. So I said to the guy, he's going to be in about an hour. This guy said, no, that's too long. I've got to be in Malden by such and such a time. I'm like, okay. Anyway, he's turned and dipped. But it was about 9:25. Sorry. He's turned and dipped. My appointments are on the half hour. So come 9:30, I span thinking, right, where's my appointment? Then I've looked in my phone, like, who is it? Then I'm like, please don't tell me it was that said guy.
Right.
What it was?
It was the said guy.
So why did he not say nothing then?
Right. So now I'm peppering off his phone, but it's not going through. Then I've realised you probably jumped back on the underground. So it's literally taken an hour, or maybe about half an hour, 45 minutes to get through to the guy. So I'm like, bruv, you was my appointment. Why didn't you say nothing? No, in between this, we're having a conversation in the barbershop now. Half of the barbershop think that I was wrong.
Why?
Because I should have said to him, do you have an appointment? I'm saying to them, you've come in, I've greeted you. I've said, you trying to get a haircut? Now, we've conversed on Instagram.
Yeah.
So you know what I look like. So you're at that point supposed to say, yes, bro, with you.
Yeah.
You understand? Or when I've said I'm fully booked, let me find out when the next barber can do. You're supposed to then say, no, I have an appointment.
But you know what the problem is? Your barbershop is mainly an appointment-based barbershop now. Like, most barbershops are turning into like this, like you lot are killing the vibes, like where you jam for an hour, 2 hours, them things dead. I accept it, it's cool, I've got stuff to do with my time. But like, it's all appointment based, yeah? So you should ask whoever walks in, do you have an appointment? That should be part of your questioning.
See, this is what half of the barbershop said. I was like, I hear you, because they were saying your customer service could have been better. I'm like, I hear you, but in my conversation with you, you know what I look like. So that's not my whole argument.
He's coming to your establishment.
And he knows he's got an appointment.
No, but
with me.
this is the thing. You've asked him, are you trying to get a haircut?
Yeah.
That's like, he must be thinking, maybe my man's like cancelling my appointment. Like, do you know, like, do you get what I'm saying?
But say it though.
Yeah, I think he should have said something.
Say it.
He might have said something, but he's not bossy like that. It seems
don't
like,
have to be
You know, like
bossy.
you walk into a barbershop, they could be quite intimidating, you know?
Especially Damon as well.
Yeah, exactly.
You probably
Yeah,
rip
new
him,
barbershops
man.
are intimidating.
You probably
Do you know-
rip
do you know
him
what
outside.
barbershops-
Most
Yeah.
barbershops are intimidating.
Do you know what's funny?
You feel like
I give
you're
you
gonna
that.
get robbed,
Yeah,
you
of
don't
course.
even know who they
I give you
are.
all of that, but as I said when I was talking to these lot in the barbershop, I spoke to the gentleman the day before. So it's not like
Yeah,
you
but
made
he's still not familiar with the surroundings.
No, but we're talking. Yeah, we're talking, and he's messaged me like, "Is my appointment still on for tomorrow?" I said, "Yes, of course. It's your wedding trim. I've got you."
Wait,
his
so
wedding.
so he didn't get his trim for a wedding?
Oh, it was his wedding.
It was his wedding trim.
So what
So
did
what
you do?
happened? What was the resolution?
So in all of the arguing back and forth, 'cause I still believe that I done enough. Yeah, but in all the arguing, he's phoned me back.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're having a conversation. I'm like, bruv, what happened? So the customer in my chair got it spot on. He said, dude, he's probably got wedding brain. Yeah. So I'm saying to him, bruv, what happened? Why didn't you say something? He goes, bruv, my head's full up with so much wedding stuff, I didn't even think about it. He goes, now that I'm sitting on the underground, I'm like, yes, I know I have an appointment with you. Why did I just say I have an appointment with you? Anyway.
Did he come back?
Wait, what would make you go to your wedding with no trim?
With no trim.
Are you smoking? No way. No way.
There's no way.
Hey, if I
There's
came
no
here on my
way.
wedding day, I ain't leaving until that's the first.
And the whole shop's gonna know it's my wedding day. Like,
I'll tell the man I'm getting married, you know.
who's
your next appointment?
Who's your next appointment?
I will
speak
pay.
to him.
I'll pay what needs to get paid though.
You know what happened?
No way leaving this.
Oh, nah, he's in Morden. I'm like, dude, we need to sort this out.
Yeah.
I'm looking at my appointment list. I finished work at on that day I finished at 6 or 6:30. I'm like, you know
Was
what?
he getting married that day?
No, so basically
Okay.
he was getting on a plane on the Sunday to fly. No, was he flying? Or he's driving or something to Ireland. He's getting married in Ireland. So it's not even like he's getting married in South. We can just go to any barber shop and say, yo. So I'm like, dude, I need to sort this out. So I've just moved a couple people, shimmied him in. I'm like, bruv, come back for 5, innit? I've got you at 5. And I've cut his hair, then cut somebody else, and then gone back and cut his hair. Niced him. He, funny enough, brought me a bottle of Courvoisier to say thank you for fitting him back in, because he was like, yeah, I shagged myself. And I just gave him the trim for free. I said, look.
You know when he came in,
Yeah.
and you're talking to him, you know he probably won't even listen to a word you're saying. He probably just in limbo, you know, like just sitting there like a dunce.
Maybe.
Sitting there a whole time and then walked off.
Maybe. But, you know, customer service, I thought I'd done enough. But I hear what you're saying. I hear what you're saying about, I maybe I should have said, do you have an appointment?
Nah, I don't know, man.
I still believe now.
So now moving forward, are you gonna ask everyone that comes in?
No, I'm not.
You have
No, I'm not. No, because you know what? There's another 4 barbers in this barbershop. They could ask as well. It's not all on them.
No, but you're the closest to the door. And you're actually like, I've seen people come in here.
And you're like the daddy of the barbers. You're like the granddad of the barbers.
What did I say to you before we started filming? Not every day, because sometimes these egg jokes hurt. They cut deep. Not every day, fam. Especially not in front of strangers as well. No, I hear you.
Irene's gonna go to all the influential places and say, you know that old barber shop in the old barber, the uncle one, the granddad of the barber shop.
Yeah, but moving forward, yeah. I mean,
I think it's key to your business. I think it's fantastic that like barbering has evolved into such a way that you get appointments now. But I think it's key to your business that you make sure that people don't have appointments before you send them away. Do you know what I mean?
And if my next appointment was on, especially if it was going to be 5 minutes later, I would have waited. I would have made him wait and been like, if my appointment comes late, then I can just try and squeeze you in.
Yeah, that's what you didn't do as well.
Yeah.
So actually, you flopped. Irene pointed it out. You flopped.
Anyway.
No, you didn't flop because you still squeezed him in,
Yeah,
and he
you
had a
got
bad
him
man
in, so-
trim for his wedding.
Anyway,
So
really,
tick.
hopefully you're married by now. Hopefully nothing untoward took place. Congratulations. You know,
Was this all last week?
this was last week Saturday.
Oh wow, okay.
Last week Saturday. Yeah.
Mad.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, you shagged yourself anyway, Lee. You shagged yourself. Did you get food eventually?
Yeah.
You said the food was pen, bro.
Food was bomb. Come on, my people cooked it.
What is my people? Damon, how was your Nigerian party on Saturday or Sunday?
Do you know what? You see what you're saying about my week? I haven't had a week like this for a long time. So I think Wednesday I flew to Amsterdam to go link Quincy, cut his hair, come back Thursday morning. So I was there for like 10 hours. Thursday's a late night. Friday's a late night. Saturday, Ace made me have an even later night.
Sorry.
Phoned me last minute for a trim. Yeah.
Sorry.
And that turned into a long thing. Anyway, that was cool. Sunday, flew to Birmingham for some barber show convention thing. Blew back and then went to this naming ceremony for one of Aisha's best friends called Stella. And literally, you know when you're driving down the road and it's a major road in Streatham, driving down the road, man can hear the music over my music in my car. Like, and they live on the top floor of the block. And it's not high, it's maybe, I think it's like 3 floors. But, so I've looked up and I have to give it to Nigerians very much like Jamaicans. You see, when man lands, it's just bare colours, it's just bare loveliness. Do you know what I mean?
Loveliness.
It's just loveliness. It's just great, innit? And for somebody who really and truly has only really started to experience Nigerian culture with you, with Victor, and with Aisha's people, you know what? I can't lie. I was sending them man the videos in the group. There's a couple things that you man in your toes.
Yeah, Uncle's toes were mad, but his Gucci sandals were bad boys. I don't care. I know Gucci's cancelled and all of that, but we wouldn't even get into it. But you see those little like the slippers he was wearing, I will drop that.
Silpas.
You know the old school wears it's leather, but it's got the little ring.
Okay, yeah, that's what he's like.
And the way
Serious
I
Uncle
could
Silpas.
imagine you could have dropped the trad with it. You didn't take the full picture. The way Uncle had landed with that.
Because I couldn't let man know a video with his foot.
But meanwhile, you're doing super zoom on his toes.
Uncle's toes were mad. Uncle, if he had my toes, he would have been lich. But Uncle's worked hard in his life.
Nah, it was
like
The black toenail.
No, it was mad. It was mad.
It was a good event, I can't lie. And I don't know if it was because the Nigerian rhythms were played at a loud decibel.
What do you mean? They pop now, bruv. It bangs.
Bruv.
It's a vibe.
I'm not. Look, I've said it before. I can't listen to too much Afro beats. Or like, there's certain music that yes, there's certain music no. Like I was like that with house. I listen to one house song, I listen to the next one. Bruv, it all sounds the same. You see, Sunday, I don't know what the DJ was dealing with, but he was dropping rhythms. Rhythms. Bruv, I was involved. I was fully involved.
That's the way that everything's moving.
It was
now,
nice.
isn't
I
it?
can't lie. It was nice. It was nice. The naming ceremony was good.
Hardback jabber guys.
Yeah. Shout
Turning
out.
it over, accepting the
Shout out
culture.
AJ and Stella. Congratulations. It was nice. It was a good night.
That's deep.
But this was a Sunday, so what time did you get to this function?
I got
From
there.
Birmingham.
We got there about 6. It started at 2,
Naming
and it was
ceremony,
supposed to finish at 8. We left at like 9:30, and music. I think 9:30
Still
to
blazing.
10. Blazing. You know, like all neighbours in the block were probably just scared
Just chilling.
to report them.
Was it in Streatham?
Yeah.
Mental.
It was good. It was nice though. So that was my week in a rundown. Lee, what going for you?
Anyway.
Boy, your week sounded more exciting than my year, boy. I ain't really do nothing, to be fair.
Have you retired as a cab driver?
I'm working. What are you talking about? I'm working. I don't work weekends at the moment.
But that's the most profitable time. You know, if you're a cab driver, you make most of your P's on a weekend leave.
Do you know what? I'm tired of working and everyone's having fun, and I'm just got them in the back having like just loving life, and I'm just working like a slave. I feel like an old school slavery. So I'm like, nah, man. I'm gonna enjoy my weekends on the sofa, rubbing my belly.
That's it.
Standard.
So you're not even
else.
out.
Out where? If I don't make no money, where am I going?
You understand that you're just contradicting
This whole
yourself.
thing
Basically,
is dumb.
I'm earning money. I'm earning money to pay the bills. Yeah, I do it that way.
What?
Yes.
So you're living hand to mouth.
Yes, basically. If I need potatoes, I go to work, do my thing, get potato money, come home. That's all I'm doing right now. Allow me.
You're watching good TV. What are you watching on TV at the moment?
Do you know what? I'm just watching rubbish, to be fair. I watched a film called, what's it called? Siberia. Is it Siberia?
Siberia.
Siberia. You seen that? With Keanu Reeves?
No, but I just know how you say
It
that word.
is dead. It's dead.
Siberia.
Yeah. I started watching Top Boy again, just prepping myself for the
Oh, when's it coming out?
for the new one coming out.
Autumn,
This
so probably
autumn.
September.
Yeah.
I don't know coming out. So
That's
yeah,
when
I'll
big
start.
dramas come out in September.
Yeah.
Like big shows.
I've done a little, that's it. I was thinking about starting this Games of Thrones thing, but then I thought,
You should watch it, man.
Games of
Games
Thrones.
of
innit?
Thrones. You know that?
Sound like an old uncle. It sound like an uncle.
No.
Games of Thrones.
Games of
Games.
you know what it is? I just all I kept seeing is got. I was like, what's this got thing? What's this got all about? What is this? And then I realised that's what the Games of Thrones
It
was.
took me a while too. I'm not
thinking,
gonna
what
lie.
is all
I was
that?
thinking,
What
what
is
is
all
got?
this?
And then I was like,
Wasn't that the same with Line of Duty?
No, Line of Duty. I binged that. That was my
No,
show.
but the LOD.
Line of
Oh,
Duty.
that
Oh, I
was
just
it,
started
LOD.
watching Line of Duty.
that's finishing as
Oh,
well.
it's
that
fire.
just finished.
Yes, finished.
It's
It
so
was
good.
Heavy.
Yeah, that is a really good show.
That got me.
I just started watching. Well, I'm on season 3 now.
See, you're in it now. You're loving
I'm
it,
in
innit?
I'm in the
Yes.
deep end. I'm
Yes.
really into it. I'm really into it. I like crime dramas.
I was watching this new show on Netflix called Jailbirds. Have you seen it?
Oh, someone told me to watch that as well. No, I haven't started watching
Mad.
it.
Like, so it's about American jail. And so, like, obviously, men and women can't be in the same jail in America. So, but they're all in the same jail. But, like, one side is men, one side is women. So, but what they do...
This is mad.
Have you seen it?
With
What
the
they do...
cups. With the cups.
So they basically talk to each other
through the
toilet.
Yeah, I saw that.
But what they have to do is they empty the toilet. They have to empty the toilet water, and then you can talk to each other through the plumbing.
See, the thing
But
is,
they actually have relationships. So like, man, like he's like, yeah, this is my girl. She's on the 8th floor.
Is that
Like,
Netflix?
and they're having like proper relationships
I saw it, you know
through the
what?
toilet.
I saw it.
I was laying on the couch, rubbing my belly, drinking my beer. And I saw it, and I was like, what, is this real? Because they're saying they empty the water,
no.
and they're literally having long-term relationship with someone on the
It
8th
goes
floor or
deeper,
something.
like so they even like send each other stuff through the toilet.
This is a
So what you
drama,
do is you take off your t-shirt. No, this is not. This is real reality
real life,
TV.
real life.
It's real
Sorry,
life.
this is a doc.
This is a documentary.
Yeah.
Real TV. This is real life.
Wow.
So they take a t-shirt and then they'll rip it into shreds and make a rope.
Yeah.
And then like they'll tie things to the rope. So you might tie like noodles or like biscuits for your loved one or like pictures, put pictures in a bag. And then you empty the toilet. Then you put, you tie a spoon to the end of the rope. And in the other end, they have to tie a spoon as well onto the end of their rope. Then you both flush at the same time, and then the spoons into, because you know the thing goes round.
Oh, yeah, it locks
the spoons, they'll lock, and then you pull up from the upper
Wow.
end and pull up all the things. And so, yeah, they're sending things to each other, they're having relationships. It was mad. It was mad. Watch it. Jailbirds.
Is it like a one-off? Or...
No, it's
You know
like
what?
it's
I
like
saw-
4-part series.
I saw the trailer, and I was thinking, should I go in? But I thought, yeah, they missed it. And I
Like
liked
girl,
it.
man's like playing. Like there's a guy called Dollar. He had 2 girlfriends in there. Like,
Of
like,
course,
and then the girls found out. They started fighting. It's mad. It's all mad. No, they haven't even met him. Like they've got pictures of him because he can send them pictures, but they haven't actually met
You
physically.
know how
met.
mad that is?
Mad.
What? But are they? Is it because they're on top of how's the?
It's like, I think like they're like back to back, but not back to back. It's weird. And also like this is funny. So like you might only be able to talk to a certain cell.
Yeah.
And so you got to send messages to your girl who's in another cell through someone else. But imagine like you're a girl and you're not the guy that is talking to you in the toilet is not your guy.
Wow.
He's knocking on the toilet and you have to answer whenever he answers. Or what he does is he can flood your toilet from his cell. So like if you're not answering him, he'll start flooding your cell. Like he'll start flooding. So like I don't know if they
imagine?
push things in the toilet and then start flushing. So then it will flood your toilet if you don't answer him.
So wait. So what about when you need to actually do a doo-doo?
I know.
Then what happens?
They didn't discuss that.
I
but
didn't
like,
speak to this.
they're
Say
talking
halfway
through the
through the
toilet.
conversation,
It's
it's a
mad.
monologue.
It's
Then what?
nasty. It's nasty. Watch it,
mad.
Jailbirds. They made jail look
Jailbirds.
quite lit still. Well, not lit, but like you could get by.
Jail could never be
You could
lit.
get by in there.
Fabric could
It's
never
mad.
be lit.
Like yeah, they're
I
sharing.
thought it was just like a new Orange is the New Black. Like,
No, this is it's a
I went
reality
off
show.
Orange is the New Black.
It's a proper thing.
So last season's
Did
coming.
anyone watch that?
I did. I watched it. Like
watched
the last 2 seasons were a bit dark.
Yeah, the last 2
No.
seasons went a bit.
Yeah.
I watched
Went a
it
bit
up to
left.
season 3 and it just got mad sexual for me, man.
There was a season when they took over the jail.
Yeah, that one was
seriously?
good.
Yeah, it went a bit mad there.
it went a
Like
bit mad.
people started dying and that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're good.
So,
I like the
It
first
come
2
up on-
seasons.
it always comes up on my feed as well.
Yeah,
It's a good show. It's a good
You
show.
know
It
what
is
else
a
I
good
watched?
show.
I watched What Women Want, Mel Gibson.
Oh, okay.
Did you watch that?
Why did you
That's the original film.
The
isn't it?
original, yeah.
Well, that's
Have you
There's
seen
a
that?
new
I've
one.
seen
No, I
that
haven't
before.
seen
What's
that.
her name?
Taraji P.
Taraji.
Henson.
Yeah.
I seen the Taraji one.
Yeah, he had the original one, but what you know what I couldn't understand.
He
is-
got struck by lightning in the bath or
yeah,
something.
he got
like that.
basically he dropped in the bath with the
Some
hair
electric-
dryer or
Yeah,
something.
yeah.
And then he could start hearing what women want, like he could hear women's thoughts, and he was proper spooked out about it. If I woke up and I could hear what women, do you think I'd be spooked out? That is the livest thing you could ever
might
go
not-
through.
you might not wanna know
He
what
tried
they're
to shock
thinking of.
himself again to lose the power. I'm like, I'm saying nothing. You're smoking. Bro. I would love to know that. Look, how far could you get in life knowing them these things? Like he worked out that he's a jerk. Like no one really liked him. He thought he was the man, but he was a prick. Like imagine knowing that you're sitting down, anyone you're around, you really know what they really think about.
Yeah, that's lit.
That's mad.
I don't think you
'Cause
want-
see,
you don't
with
want
me,
that
no,
power.
no, but you see what I would do? If someone didn't like me, I'd make them like me, and I make them not like me, and then make them like me. We'd be confused. Is that right?
That's all mad.
Do you get what I'm saying? But you could play games, but it was the whole fact that he was trying to go through the process of losing this power. And I was thinking, why would you want to do that? But obviously, he started using it to his advantage and then climbing. But yeah, that was a
Yeah, but imagine being in a room like and always being able to hear
Yeah,
what
you
people
could
are
just hear
thinking.
whatever
It's
was
too
in
much.
Yeah, no, I'm not on it.
That could break your heart, though.
It could.
If someone you thought was
You
your,
thought
your
like
people,
that you really-
people, like,
exactly.
when they, like,
yeah,
really
thinking
don't like you.
proper hater as well.
That's real
Proper.
depression.
That's real life, though. Imagine you're sitting next to someone,
Like you.
It
and
is
they don't
real
like
life.
you.
It is real life.
Anyway,
Yo, food. Ace, are we allowed to talk about Game of Thrones? Is it too early?
no,
Irene
Irene hasn't
she
seen
ain't
it.
seen it.
I haven't
Can,
watched the
we
last
can like
episode.
without spoiling it. What did you think of the last episode?
There's nothing I can say that won't spoil it.
Okay.
No, I can give my view on it and say whether I liked it, whether it was good, bad, indifferent, but
What did you think? Did you like it?
hopefully without spoiling it, I thought there was only one way it can end. And I think it was right. Everyone's running around saying, oh, yeah, I've seen so many people, even like Getz was on the news talking about, oh, yeah.
Getz was on the news.
He's on the news.
It was on like news at 6.
Irene
Was it
said
6
Getz
o'clock
was on
news?
the news,
Yeah.
yeah.
Talking about Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
No, he was
Yeah.
talking about his Ivor Novello award
Yeah, but they
nomination.
asked him about
And then
Game
they
of
asked
Thrones.
about Game of
Can you
Thrones.
imagine?
What
You
he's...
said Getz was
Yeah.
on the
Yeah.
He's come a long way.
So there's a lot of people that are like, oh, I was disappointed. You know, the general consensus is it's the worst season out of
Yeah,
all
I've seen
of them.
a couple of the comments on their Instagram
yeah.
thread, and it's mad. People are literally taking it to heart.
Yeah, but it's just,
I'm not angry with the outcome.
I was cool with it.
I
was cool.
think
but I think how
whatever
they
would
got
have
there was a
happened-
bit stupid.
What did you say? You
I,
think?
I think how they got to the outcome is
Okay.
a bit stupid, but I'm not angry with the outcome.
All right, so
I'm gonna wait to see if I'm
that
right,
you
but
ha-
I think I kind of know.
Right, what do you think?
might have
Throw it
happened.
out there now. What do you think is gonna...
I
So what have you
think-
seen the...
I haven't seen the last episode.
Okay, so what do
I
you
haven't seen
think?
the finale. I think Sansa is gonna be the queen
Okay.
because I don't think John's gonna take it regardless. He's a man of his word and he don't want it.
Mm-hmm.
I can't see Arya being leader of the 7 kingdoms, well, 6 kingdoms, because one's been burnt down to a crust right
real.
now. So I don't know. I think it's only Sansa it could be really.
Mm.
And she wants it. She's always wanted it from season 1, episode 1. She wanted to be a prince. She wanted it from the beginning. So for me, I think it would only make sense if she was the queen. But I don't know how they're going to get to that bit. I don't know how that one's going to stop burning down the whole... Like, it just didn't make sense what she did last week. It didn't make sense to me at all.
Did it not?
No.
So
it
these,
didn't make
these
sense.
lot don't watch it, so they don't.
Allow them. We're
Can
not
I-
talking to
can
them
I
right
put it in
now.
perspective? Is this like EastEnders when there was only 4 channels and it come on twice a week?
Why?
Because the way you lot are proper into it, that's how man was on EastEnders
Nah,
back in the
it's-
day.
it's deeper
Before
than
Channel 5 was about.
Nah, it's deeper than that because it's more about like I
It's
think
deeper than
why
that.
people are so engaged in Game of Thrones because it's so much about like society's morals as well. Like it's money, sex, power, like all things that like kind of play a lead role in how any society would function.
That's the same as Albert Square, no?
Not with
listen.
Tiffany and
But then
Pat
you
and,
you lot got
and
dragons in that, though, man.
Listen. Stop talking, because big people are having a conversation. Yeah.
I wasn't angry with her burning because
Do you know why? It didn't make sense.
They showed little bits of her turning.
yeah.
I think the turn was very drastic.
Yeah, it was very
It
drastic.
was very drastic, but I think we could see that she was about that. You could see how much she wanted the throne, like, and she was willing to just burn down
Do you know
anything
what?
for
For me,
it.
it got to the point
So we
where,
don't care
as far
about
as
this
she
stuff.
was concerned, people are taking her kindness for weakness.
Mm.
Already, I'm a woman. I'm a small woman. Yes, I've got dragons. For
Two
whatever
already gone,
For whatever
yeah.
reason, 2 dragons have been licked down, and you lot are doubting my power.
Yeah.
I've got people close to me
Moving mad.
that
yeah.
are moving reckless.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then that happens. My
Beheaded.
Cody.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool,
And
innit?
you remember her dad was mad as well.
Yeah.
So
But
she
also,
might have
I
that
just
cheat.
felt like everything she had come up on and everything she had been about was about like for the people. So for her to burn all those innocent people while Cersei was still watching her burn down all them people, it didn't make sense to me.
I hear you.
Like if you were gonna burn anything down, she should have gone straight for the
Yeah, she
tower
could've just licked down.
and licked down Cersei.
Yeah.
I didn't understand why
That's true.
her whole presence from the beginning had always been about I'm here for the people. I want to change. We need we need change. We need change. That's what she's always been about. That's what her mantra's always been about. So for her to just now start burning kids and burning innocent people, that's what didn't make sense to me. But don't get me wrong, I was still there screaming with everybody else on the sofa. In Kenya, like our one little bit of Wi-Fi that we got, we were like, let's watch Game of Thrones. Yeah.
Why not?
In Kenya, watch
that.
Game of Thrones last
On
week.
Now TV.
No, not on Now TV.
Legally.
Not in one. One platform there.
One platform like this.
One platform there. But yeah, a legal one. But yeah, we watched Game of Thrones in Kenya. But no, yeah, it didn't. Do you know, but I just feel like now it's kind of, it's had its moment now.
They got, was it 500,000 signatures for people wanted
for them to redo
1 point, how many?
1.6 million.
That's not a lot considering how many people actually follow their Instagram account.
To reshoot
the whole season.
To reshoot it again, yeah.
I ain't got time for that. Who's got time for that? What for?
It's funny what people rally together for, innit?
Oh,
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
People rally together for a lot now. Let's not.
No, but there's some things they don't. Some people don't.
rally together for like, you know, people. I see petitions for everything nowadays.
Like
people do like, you know, bunch of things, like lots of. I can't think off the top of my head, but I see petitions all the time.
when was the last time you signed a petition?
That I signed one.
I signed the emissions petition.
Windrush one.
What's an emissions?
What the Mayor of London brought in to lower the emissions. He brought in an extra charge, so if your car...
Yeah.
So you signed it for what, to get rid of it?
Yeah.
How many people
Why?
signed it?
I just think because they haven't actually... I don't think there's been any improvement when you look at the statistics since they brought in the congestion charge. And there's a significant time now since we've had the congestion charge. I don't really see what they've done with that money. Like if you're claiming £5, well, it's now £8
What's
for
£8?
every car. The congestion charge was £8. Remember
not.
when it was gone up? It's like £10.
£12.
No, is it the congestion is £12?
Yeah.
Okay, mental. And so then the emissions charge is also £12.50, but it's 24
yeah.
hours.
Yep.
And do you know what? If they had things in place where you could actually see improvements, like they were putting the money towards better transport systems. Like I feel like for one of the biggest cities in the world, we have the worst transport system.
Do you think?
Like one of the worst transport systems.
New York,
Look at
New York's.
their transport's 24 hours a day.
That's it.
It's 24 hours a day.
But it's disgusting.
It is disgusting, but it's 24 hours a day, regardless of like, and also it's not as expensive. I think
Yeah,
our
it's
travel
cheaper.
here
It's a
is
lot cheaper.
it's really expensive.
You know what? The main thing I've noticed with New York and maybe other countries around the world is they designed their transport system for the climate. This country can't deal with extreme hot weather on the underground, on the train, on the buses. So, I mean,
Cold weather even.
It does need a lot
Updating.
of work.
It needs a lot of
over
work,
here.
but also it's
does.
like you can't.
It does
You
need a lot
can't.
of work.
You can't. It's difficult to see like where the money's going because every year you see increase in fares, increase in everything, increase in fares, increase. And do you know I wouldn't be upset with the emissions charge if I would be able to see where the money was going. But it's like even for the congestion charge, I don't really see like specific hard facts of what they've done to improve that zone. So to add emissions on top of that and to make it 24 hours, and especially when it's kind of contradicting, they were doing the whole, get a diesel car, like it's better for the environment, and then they retracted that, and then you get a diesel car, and then it's like even your permit outside your house is almost double because of it's a diesel.
Charge you 70% extra to park in a pay and display when you have a
diesel car. Yeah,
I've got a diesel car.
I've got a diesel car too.
Immediately it's £2.
How do they know though?
Huh?
I didn't know.
They know from
because
your
you know from your registration.
Reggie, go back to sleep.
No, but I don't pay. I don't pay those.
No, Irene, you know what it is? I agree with you 100%. I've said this before, that they brought out the congestion zone in France, and the man just didn't pay it. So they took it away. Like, this government is scared about people power. And if we was to rally together properly and say, nah, then they would have no choice. I mean, as you said, I thought about this the other day. So you see this ULEZ thing, and it's in the same zone as a congestion. So if I drive around the ULEZ thing, my fumes are not going to come across. You understand? Like,
It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense.
It doesn't. And as you said about the money, there's still a bag of potholes in the road. You know, there's still ridiculous amounts of traffic. You know, it's just as you said, the money that you're making. Because I looked at it like this: overnight, the government has now just made an extra 5 million, let's say, overnight for nothing, for putting up a couple signs on the road and sending out like information about, this is going to happen. Minimum 5 mil overnight. As you said, where is that money going?
And they always give you all of these stats and thingy, but it's just like you can't see any hard.
drinking.
You can't see any, and it's different if they were putting it into the transportation system, and we were going to have 24-hour, transport, and our transport system could handle the extreme weather conditions, But it doesn't, And this is like in 2019 for us to not have a stable 24-hour transport system as a leading city in the world, it doesn't really make sense to me, And then on top of that, you're like penalising people, so it just doesn't make sense. But like then you want me to spend money on like using the transport system or Uber or taxis, which is still putting the emissions into the environment. So to me, it just doesn't make sense, and I can't see any clear like what they're doing with the money. It doesn't make sense to me. So I was like, Sadiq, I love you, man, but that's just not making sense for me. It's not making sense. But maybe because I'm biased because I've got a diesel and I'm just like sorry about it,
diesel
babes.
as well. I've just had to pay like the amount of times I've had to pay mad paying displays. I'm like, wow.
Yeah, it's mental.
Wow, you're spending like a tenner.
I just had to renew my permit for outside my house, and it was like diesel surcharge on top of the fee, and I was just like, this is mad. But then there was I don't understand where this whole diesel was safer for the environment thing came from when they were trying to move everyone to go to diesel.
I'm not gonna lie.
Apparently, it's the lead that comes. Is it lead?
Right,
No, but
so-
that's from old diesel.
So what it is, so if you got a new car, and this is the thing that a lot of people don't realize, if you got a newer car, you've got something on your car like a filter. But what they don't tell you is you have to burn all of the soot out of this filter maybe once every couple of months. The only way to do that is going on the motorway.
Fresh it,
Yeah. Now, if you don't, it will come up on your car saying, you need to do some forced regeneration thing, which is to get rid of all this soot by having your car constantly at a higher revs, so the engine's running hotter to burn off this soot. If you don't do it, then the filter just gets blocked, and then you got to pay maybe £1,500 to 2 bags to get a new filter for your car. That's the downside of this. See, have you noticed all these new diesels, they don't throw out the black smoke because it gets clogged up in this filter. Now, if you don't blow it out every couple of months, you got to buy a whole new filter, which is a mad thing. So when I heard about it, I'm like, but you're acting like I don't see these lorries driving around and the old taxis blowing out black smoke. I'm thinking, how can that be better for the environment? It's just this government is just shag. That's what it is. The government is just one big bump.
Fair enough.
That's what it is.
Fair enough. That's like, did you just get a delivery to their shop during the podcast? Sorry.
Mad. There you go.
Go on.
What did you buy?
You know, for me, after like the innocent child. What did you buy?
What did you buy?
What's in the bag?
A nice little bag.
You bought a nice little bag.
Yeah.
Can we see it?
It's my treat to myself.
Premiere it on the podcast.
Yeah, can we all see
It doesn't go with my look that I've got on today.
No,
Doesn't go with my look today.
Show it to us and not show it to the camera.
You know you can't wait to see it yourself.
It
though.
doesn't.
Come
It
on,
doesn't. It
let's
doesn't
see
go
it.
with my. It doesn't go with the look.
Come, let's see it.
We want to see your smile as you open it.
Come, this is live. Live direct. Come on, bring your sister. Don't worry. Yeah.
She opens
This is
it.
the first time we've opened a new bag on Cut the Chat.
It's the first time for everything, B.
Jeez.
It's really small.
You know where you see the packaging?
It's a bag in a bag in a
bag
box
in
in
a
a bag.
Recyclable, sustainable fashion.
Oh, I love that.
That looks very
It
expensive.
does look expensive, doesn't it?
That's mad pricey.
We're not going to show how much it is, but yeah, it's very cute. Ta-da.
Lovely.
All right, okay, real talk.
But what can you actually
I
put
was
in
going
that?
to say, as a man,
What can you actually put in that?
what's
My
this?
bank
Your
card,
car keys. That's about
my
it.
bank card, and my car keys.
You can't even put a phone in there.
The
you can't put a
essentials.
phone
I
in
hold
that.
my phone in my hand.
Unless you're on E-Wing in Pentonville.
I hold my phone in my hand.
Okay.
We like to snap. We're social media friendly.
That's a cute bag.
It's a very cute bag, isn't it?
Go on.
Okay, so
Mood.
I mean, it fits in well with your.
And it's got so many bags.
How cute it is.
Can you carry it on your shoulder?
It's not a shoulder bag, is it?
It's nice.
No,
You can do
I
that.
can do crossbody.
Really?
Yeah. Don't worry, it's coming soon. Look, the chain's really long.
Oh yeah, it is long. Yeah.
I'll do a 3 ways to wear.
Mad.
Go on.
Just for you guys. It's a mood.
Everyone listening on iTunes right now, they're like, what the hell's going on?
Everyone's like,
Back
"Wow,
to the
sorry
regular
to
schedule
that."
Sorry to the
programming.
iTunes crew.
I forgot this was like an audio platform.
Sorry to the iTunes crew.
I thought it was a visual platform.
And the SoundCloud
Sorry,
massive, so
when
it was
most
blocked
our
off.
listeners come on.
We apologise.
We apologize.
Yeah.
So, Miss Irene,
Let's get into it.
why did you decide to start doing the whole fashion for taller?
It's quite obvious, really,
Yeah, that
isn't
was
it?
a big-
No,
That's a
but
dead question.
look, at the end of
It's
the
a bit
day,
of a dead question.
Why,
No.
why did she wake up this morning?
what kind of idiot is that?
For life, innit?
No, bro. No, real talk. Like, did you just find that there wasn't enough choice for you, or was you like, nah, you need to just do your own thing?
So I'm 5'11", and I just grew frustrated with the lack of wardrobe essentials that there was currently on the market for tall women. I had worked in fashion. Well, I have worked in fashion since I was 16, and I started off as a stylist, which is probably what most people knew me as at the beginning. And I found that when I went into commercial styling and doing e-commerce, which is, for anyone who doesn't know what e-commerce is, it's anything that you buy online platforms. A lot of the things on the styles on the models were retouched. So as in fashion anyway, like everything can be done in post. And I just was thinking, like, why don't we have just the basics, like a long sleeve t-shirt, a legging, like things that you would think that would be like just standard procedure didn't fit. So even when I was at secondary school, I remember I went BTG in Streatham.
No, you
and
didn't.
Yeah, babe.
My school. Yeah.
Like 20 years after, 24.
I went BTG in
I went
Streatham.
BTG.
Did you? I didn't know that. You see it there?
There you go.
It was meant to be. Stars are aligned.
What's
And
BTG? What is
Bishop,
it?
Bishop Thomas Grant.
Grant.
Okay.
Roman
Catholic
school.
1.
Okay,
Catholic
cool.
1.
Ace left like 5 years when you started.
10.
I'm not that old. Don't tell it.
Anyway, sorry.
What strip was you? What colour strip was you?
Yellow. What colour was yours?
Red. But then yellow will below us.
Does it
We're
loop?
trying to work.
Yeah,
I'm trying to
it
work
loops,
out how
it
old
loops
that
every
is.
5 years.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what our school did as well. It looped.
What do you mean it looped?
So I was yellow tie, then blue tie, green tie, red tie.
Who was your headmaster? Irene.
I can't even remember now.
Who's yours? Ace remembers everything.
No, wait. Shit, who was my headmaster? Mr. Gibbons.
Mr. Gibbons was mine.
Really?
Yeah, Mr. Gibbons was mine, and Mr. Gibbons left, I think, when we were in year 11, and Mr.
you
Desar
could've been
came.
in school
Right.
together?
Mr. Desar was my mentor.
Yeah. Really?
Yeah, and he had just started though when I was there.
Yeah, because he had started. He was there, and then he left, and then he came back.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So he was like head of
When I
maths.
was in year 11,
We
he
got to
came
Mr.
I'm gonna
Desar.
get a man to come back, guys.
Sorry.
Sorry.
So you know
Sorry.
Ace, when Ace was in a band? When he's in the R&B
No,
band.
I've just found out now that we went to the same school. I didn't even know.
There you go.
But there was a point where BTG introduced that you could wear trousers to school. But at that
Really?
point, there was no stockist that did long leg trousers. So I didn't wear trousers to school like everybody else. So it was always a problem, and it was frustrating. And I guess you can kind of be creative. And I would always buy like a men's double XL and like roll it up and like to get away. There was always ways you kind of got around it. And I remember I went traveling for about a year, and I just remember thinking, I've always got a layer. It was just too much stuff. I didn't have like just basics. So I started my own company, which started off as wardrobe essentials for tall women, and then it went into occasion wear for tall women. And I just showed last October at Lagos Fashion Week, which was really cool. And that collection comes out next month on ASOS. So yeah, it's doing good. It was the first tall specific collection to launch in Selfridges. It was the first tall specific collection to launch in Barney's in New York, and it opened a whole category of tall. It was the first brand to launch tall on ASOS as well, which now was 4 years ago. So yeah, ASOS have been loyal, and it's mad because things have always kind of 360. Like I worked at Selfridges, and their mantra was always, it was meant to be a one-stop shop for every type of customer, you know. So I went in there and I was like, well, I'm tall and I can't buy anything here, so you're not fulfilling like what your mantra is, so you have to stock my brand. And they were like, true. That. So yeah, that's like, and then I worked at ASOS, so I knew like how to pattern it to work for their customer. And again, like a lot of their for them to grow. They want it to be the online destination for every type of woman.
Right.
But being tall, I couldn't find anything that fit, or I was buying a men's XXL. So it was like, how do we cater for every type of woman, but how do we start that conversation of inclusivity, but real inclusivity, not like just talking about race or gender specific, you know? So yeah, that's basically where it went from there.
Did you come across a lot of hurdles trying to get your stuff out, or was it plain sailing?
No, it was difficult. I didn't study fashion at all, so it was kind of, a lot of it was trial and error.
What did you study? You studied something mad.
Forensic science. I'm a forensic scientist. Yeah, I got gassed off CSI, boy. Not gonna lie. Yeah, I'm a forensic scientist.
All right.
Are you went all the way with it as well?
Yeah.
You could be the
Really?
first person.
Go on.
Yeah.
How close is it to CSI?
Oh, babe, 10 million miles away. It's very chemistry based. It's chemistry based. It's basically a chemistry degree,
Yeah.
essentially. Yeah.
So
Do you know what I did my dissertation on? How you discover if a fire was intentional or not.
Really?
Yeah.
Yo,
So
how
you
do you?
can tell.
Yeah, you can tell.
Yeah.
Yeah, I suppose.
So you can tell whether arson is like.
Yeah, because
Awesome.
obviously you
Accelerants and all of that. kind of stuff,
accelerant
yeah.
and you test all the particles, and then you study it for like like what different combinations are, and it's you put it through a gas chromatographer. It's mental, but yeah, that's
So
basically.
if I
what my
burn the
dissertation
tissue, you
was
can
for.
tell that I burnt the tissue.
We would maybe
What's
tell
the
that it was a
difference?
tissue specifically, but we would know that it was an accelerant that was used. That it was.
Really?
Wouldn't-
Even if it's just
if you
ash?
just burn a tissue, you wouldn't burn a tissue. You'd need fuel, like.
Okay. So I'm just saying that if I burn the tissue or the tissue burned because of sparks from the plug, you'd be able to tell it was
You'd be able to
How?
tell that it was an electrical burn.
really.
Yeah.
Even if it's ash.
Yeah, but because of the
Nothing
chemicals.
burns to ash like that.
No,
No, bro.
tissue does.
But as Irene just
You said a
said,
chemical, but you
Okay,
said
okay,
from the
okay.
electrical.
I'm trying to. Yeah, right. Trying to
cut
Electrical
people out,
burn.
I've watched enough TV to know that, and that's TV.
Anyway, Irene, carry on.
yes,
I'm not enjoying this other gist. These are going
Look
on
at this
with.
guy.
Science track, but like, yeah, I did a science. I was always into science, to be honest, and as being an African descendant, like when you try to tell your family that you want to do something creative, they're just like, nah, babe. So I did my degree essentially to like, and so then that was something that they could be happy that I was doing, and then like, but I always worked part-time to support myself. From when my NI card came through my doorstep, I was working, you know, because I wanted nice things, and you know, I grew up on an estate with drug dealers, and you want to be matching them, you want to have the same Nikes, and you want to be doing the same lifestyle, but your mum says, sorry about it, I'm not spending, and then I'm 5'11", and I already had a size 7 foot by the time I was like 13, so like, that's £110 every trainer that you want to buy, so your mum's just like, why am I spending £110 when you can get high-tech for £30? So, you know, it didn't really equate, so if you wanted nice things, you had to go and work hard for it, so, because I've always worked and the easiest thing that most people do, they have a part-time job while they're studying, and I worked in fashion. So then that's how that kind of fashion has always kind of been simultaneous with the science. And then I worked at Selfridges for a very long time. I started going into visual merchandising, and then from visual merchandising, I went into styling, and I used to work with a director called Mo Ali, which a lot of people knew, and so that's how I started working with all the artists, because I did Skep, I did Scorch, I met everyone like working with Mo, and essentially at the beginning, and then I moved to New York and worked for Complex magazine pre-recession. Then it was recession while I was there, so I had to moonwalk home. And then
Slow down.
sorry.
Slow down. So you went to New York. You got offered this job by a Complex.
It was so random. So basically, there used to be a trade show there still is a trade show. Well, I don't actually know if it happens anymore. There used to be a massive street and sportswear trade show called Bread and Butter. Okay. And, excuse me, my boyfriend at the time used to get Complex sent to my house. And so when I went to this trade show, because I always knew I wanted to do styling, but I wasn't sure if I wanted to stay in the music video realm. One, because it wasn't really a lot of money. And two, I was just a bit like, okay, like I wanted to expand into editorial and do more commercial work. So when I went to this trade show with Selfridges, actually, Complex had a stand. So it's like big booths, different brands have this. So it's like Adidas, there'd be G-Star, Levi's, like all the big brands there. And that's when like people really had monies those days. All the brands had big checks. Like, so different people had booths, like Reebok would do a booth, they'll do live, like trainer customization in the space. Like it was like brands spent money. So basically what they would do is all the buyers from around the world, they would come in and you would buy like the next 2 seasons collections or like preview. It's a bit like what Complex Con is now to streetwear, but it was like those days, you know. And I remember Complex had a stand and I walked up big and bossy and was just like, oh, can I get the fashion editor's email because I really want to do more editorial work? And she was like, well, you're speaking to her. Wow. And I was like, okay, hi, my name's Irene. But it turned out that the universe is crazy, and Anoma ended up now being one of my mentors, and she grew up in East. She grew up in Bow. She moved to New York when she was 16 to work for, when she was a teenager, and then she was the fashion editor at Trace magazine before she moved to Complex. So when I was talking about Selfridges and them times I'd just done Kano's video, like she knew everyone that was talking about. So she was like, sick, like it would be really cool to maybe bridge the gap between UK and US. So she did one of them ones of like, oh, email me your CV, and then which I did, but then they sent me like one task to do, like the story of like rivets on denim or something, and I remember thinking, are they wasting my time? Like, is this really a thing, like rivets on denim? And then I submitted it, and then she was like, can you move to New York? And I was like, babe, when do you need me to be there? Because man's out, kind of thing. So I went to New York to work for her, and that's when I kind of really understood editorial in that sense, but also like the merge of music and fashion, because Complex, we shot Kanye on the cover, we shot Pharrell on the cover. It was very much at that time in its heyday, the bridge between music and fashion, and that's what kind of, I think for me, set the foundations. So even when I came back to London, there wasn't really any magazines that we had here that was doing it the way Complex was doing it. But I remember thinking, okay, like, how do we do mass? And a few people had told me about this website called As Seen on Screen. Like they basically like copy celebrity dresses and sell them for well cheap. So they used to be like, As Seen on Victoria Beckham, and then make their own budget version. Those days. And I thought, okay, this could be cool, like, because it's a way of just like being able to, you're following the trends, you're seeing what's happening. And then I saw that they were, I applied to get a job there as stylist. And then I got the job at ASOS, and I was working at ASOS. And then, it was Unseen on Screen, but it had just started to transition onto stocking brands as well. So then we were like, it was good because I'd come from the Selfridges background. I knew about all the brands that they were putting onto their website. So it was kind of like differentiating their brand from the branded content, because if you're going to have a £125 Marcus Lupfer jumper on ASOS and then have a Scene on Screen David Beckham Cheryl Cole dress for £15, you can't shoot it the same way, you know? So it was kind of like understanding brand identity and how you're going to transfer that to the customer, but then also understanding how e-commerce worked. So then when I had my idea to start the brand, because I had worked at ASOS, I knew that online was the future, and seeing how ASOS was growing so rapidly, I was like, okay, well, the future is going to be on online. And this was before like anyone, no Topshop, no Zara, no one was doing online when ASOS was doing online. Like even Amazon wasn't pushing the numbers that ASOS was pushing, but obviously Amazon's now the number one market leader now for e-com, but like ASOS, I have to say, were kind of ahead of the game then. I feel like they've probably oversaturated it a little bit now, but they were ahead at that time. But
they were the only, I remember, like, you know, they were the only website where you could order clothes and it was lit and it would come, and it, like, no one else. I didn't really think. I remember when I first ordered first batch of clothes from ASOS, I wasn't sure whether it would come.
Really?
I was thinking
that's how early it was.
And
it was cheap and it was decent and it was like, you know, like...
Their business model was just amazing. Like, and but then you, from when you work behind the scenes, you see how many people, like, from when I worked at ASOS, they had 2 floors. It's based in Greater London House, right, which is like Mornington Crescent, and they had 2 floors. And now when I go to ASOS, they've got like 7 floors. It's expanded. They've got the company has literally, like, the growth of the company in the short of time that it's existed is crazy. But like, they've really understood like the growth of technology and how you incorporate that into growing your business. And that's when I started e-com, I was just like, well, okay, well, I understand like how things need to be shot, how things need to look to be able to sell it to like what the customer wants. But obviously I'm making a product that's quite specific to a specific audience. So I was a bit like, okay, well, how am I going to find these girls? Like, how am I going to target them? So then you have to understand like where your customer is and do your market research, and like being able to mix the fact that I had done fashion before helped me, but also what helped me a lot was the fact that I had worked in nightlife. So those days I used to do the door at Yo-Yo, which I don't know if any of you used to come to Yo-Yo at Notting Hill Arts Club. So I used to do the door there for Seb and Leo for many years, many hungover Fridays. But that's how I met a lot of people, because again, when you're a door girl, everyone wants to be your friend because everyone wants to get in because no one wants to queue. So at that time, what happened was I was in a position that I had bargaining tips. Like, I was starting my business, but I was saving money, but I was meeting a lot of people through nightlife. Fast forward, when I started my business, we had actually stopped Yo-Yo, but through that 10-year journey of Yo-Yo, everything runs its course. It had run its course.
That was a lit
it had
night,
run its
though.
course.
That was a good night.
Yeah, but what it did do was it was groundbreaking in the sense that really put another level of integrating music, fashion, art and culture. That's all Yo-Yo did. It platformed the first like premiered artists that were up and coming, from the Ritas to the Tinies, but also pushed established artists, you know, and but also was a way where it was a natural meeting ground.
Place, yeah.
It was natural networking, not a lot of this artificial stuff that we see these days, but like it was a good night out. It was riddled of booze, affordable booze, and people could come and see new music, but they knew that they could meet artists. So,
but it turned mad though, because like after a while, the queue around that block,
so basically every week, the venue could only hold 220 was capacity at Notting Hill Arts Club, and on some Thursdays we would have 1,500 people waiting to get in. With a full club, you know. So, but it again, you meet a lot of people when you're doing it for a long time. You get to meet a lot of people, you know. So, because I was working in nightlife while doing fashion, everything's always overlapped, and that's probably why you've seen me over the years, because I'll be at music events but also fashion events. So I've kind of been quite at the forefront of always merging both of them and not keeping them separate, because that's what I've always grown up in, and it's always been intertwined in my work. So after Yo-Yo, one of the vice presidents of Marriott used to come to Yo-Yo, and he opened Edition, the hotel, and Edition is part of Marriott, and it had a club. It was meant to be like, it was run by Ian Schrager, who started Studio 54, and we basically had a basement club which was soundproofed. Well, not to the best, but was soundproofed. And we had a club called The Basement. And that was also in town, which I helped curate and worked on the door for that. And so when you do work in nightlife, you see the same people that work, because a lot of the events that we did were music focused, from doing, you know, wireless after parties to doing DJ Mustard when he came to London, to, you know, hosting whatever artist was going to be in town. So everything always interlinked, but with fashion as well, because fashion understood that they needed the artists to be able to be brand ambassadors, or to be able to, like, because I remember when River Island first did their collaboration with Rihanna, you know, and then they had like Seb DJ in, because they knew that Seb was going to bring a certain crowd. So people were, from the early days, were quite smart in like utilizing artists to platform their brands. So I think it's always crossed over, but now more than ever, it's necessary. It's kind of, but I think for me, it's kind of like, I feel like I've been octopus hands in all of those fields because it's always crossed over for me. Whether it had been me doing day job in Selfridges and then working nights in the club, or doing day job at ASOS and working nights at Edition, you know, music and fashion has always intertwined. For me anyway. So I think through curating, that's where I've been able to always like do events and like work with talent, and then over the years that's just developed, like your personal relationships with the artists develop. So even now, like I opened the curtain 2 years ago, or almost 2 years ago now. Yeah, almost 2 years ago. Almost 2 years ago. May is gonna. Yeah, well, 2 years ago. Sorry, literally. We opened the curtain, and like De La Soul used to come to Yo-Yo anytime they were in town. They would come to Yo-Yo, and then so now it was good because contacts have always stayed relevant. Yeah. So when we opened Red Rooster, we got De La Soul to open Red Rooster for us. So you know, like all contacts have always come back. So it's very important, obviously, to network, but then to make use of the context that you've got.
I think it's that obviously sometimes you meet people, you're like, oh, what am I gonna do with this? Like. But it's just making use of it at the right time and like nurturing that relationship in a meaningful way as well. Yeah. It's kind of difficult. I feel like, you know, like when you're in the industry and like you sort of like the other day, Jonathan Ross followed me. Yeah, yeah, and I was like, oh, this is fake. Yeah. So like I was like, oh, let me message him. Yeah. To see if like it's fake, because sometimes you know these like big stars, they have fake Instagram, bare fake followers. So I'm like, let me message him to see if it's real. And so I've messaged him, and he's messaged me back. I'm like, And I just left it. I just didn't say anything because I'm like, because it's like, oh, what do you say? Yeah, have you seen this? Can I pitch you this? Could I? He's like, there's a sequel, there's a prequel to a very popular show, and apparently his missus is like she's running it.
Yeah, she's a big star in it.
She's running. She's a big producer director
in it. Yeah.
Like prequel to the biggest show in the world we like that. Literally, we were talking about. Yeah, his missus doing a prequel. Wow. Okay. And so I was like, oh, should I message him that to beg bro? Because you know I want to be.
You got Ozil, man. You got Ozil mentality. Yeah, you know, like Ozil mentality.
And so it's like, you know, I feel like there's a balance. It's a nice little balance. Like, you know, being in what advice would you give to young people in that situation? Like, you know, like you're like, yeah, I can't wait so I met this young guy yesterday. And he was so gassed to meet me, he didn't even know why I came. So I met this guy, he asked me for a meeting. He's like, no, I'm like, bro, why do you want to meet me? He's like, oh, do you know what? I've got music I want to play you, Like, oh, so you want to be a composer? He's like, yeah, blah, blah, blah. But he sat down with me and he was just all over the place. And then there was another guy there, he said, oh, why did you want to meet Femi? He was like, you know, I'm just happy to get a meeting. I'm like, bro, do you think I've got time?
Yeah. Come with
to
something.
Be doing, I'm just happy to get a meeting.
Yeah.
Like, nah, like I can't meet him again. I can't imagine a time in my life where I'm ever gonna give him half an hour of my time again, just because it's like
you will do though if his work's good, you will.
Yeah, but then ultimately it's like, you know, as young people, how do they manage that situation?
I think it's really difficult now. I think because we live in a world where everything's so visual and easily accessible, it's very difficult. And that was that's why I have to say that I'm very blessed to be the age that I am, because I grew up pre-Instagram and like I'm still a bit of a millennial kid because we had internet, you know, but we had dial-up internet. You had AOL and all of that stuff. That you had to wait. Remember the noise you used to make when it was connected to your phone, and then your mum used to be like, "Get off my phone! You're blocking. You're engaging my line. Get off my phone."
You don't know what you're talking about. Do you know basically, you couldn't use internet at the same time
as being on the phone. Yeah, as being on your house phone. Look at everybody shaking their head. Look, new gen. See new gen. So you couldn't. Your mum used to be like, "You're engaging my line. Get off this intranet. Get off it." But I'm happy that I've been able to do both, because I feel like it's pros and cons to both sides actually. Like I feel like now new gen kind of have no excuse, because you can literally find anyone, like, you know, and you can literally engage with anyone. There's a way to be able to platform yourself, brand yourself, have a voice, and that's why I feel like social media is birthing so many young entrepreneurs, and that's beautiful to see. Like a young girl of 15 can now have a fashion boutique on through Instagram, you know. So I do feel like there's pros in that. It is nurturing and teaching new gen to be able to like be independent and start their own businesses. But on the flip side of that is sometimes they don't see the work that goes back of house. I think sometimes with social media, it only really it's a highlighter, shows you all the good things, you know, and even to the detriment to myself, like, you know, sometimes you battle with what content to put out because you're also just a bit like, you don't only just want to show when you're happy and smiley, and I think that's where now the mental health conversation starts to come into it as well with social media, because it's hard. Like, even me at my big old age of 34, I'm not embarrassed to say how old I am, but like, you still have insecurities, you still have, you're still have to be, and that's why it's good to sometimes remove yourself from the internet and what other people are doing, because especially being in the creative industry, sometimes it's very difficult on your mental well-being. When you're freelance, you work for yourself, you determine your own income, you have to push yourself because you do work for yourself, but also you're constantly being in a competitive environment. Like, the creative industry is it's like literally the battlefield of Game of Thrones, you know, like, you know, where the Night King is, you know, the institutionalized white man that you're begging for funds from, you know, and the rest of us are just here. Like, it is literally one big battleground, because, you know, you're always, even if you're pitching for things, there's so many of you pitching, so you're kind of being programmed to be in this competitive environment, and it's not always healthy, like, because, and it's interesting because I was having this conversation like a few days ago, and especially when I find that you come from your first gen from your family to be born here as well, so on top of that, your home environment is stuck with quite traditional values that can't always be implemented or are necessarily recognized in the Western world that we live in today. Example, being Nigerian, it's not really acceptable to not do anything that's not really academic, you know? So until my brand was in Selfridges and my mum could physically see what I was doing, she really thought that I was just gingering this whole time. She thought, oh, you got a degree in science, now you're not even using it, you're just doing fashion, what's this fashion? But then when she actually saw, like, where it, because obviously every mum knows what Selfridges is, you know, then she was like bringing her pasta and like, my daughter is in Selfridges, you know, like, you know, them ones. But it's like, and me and my mum have had to have these conversations, because it's like, what internal, what that says to you is, oh, I'm not good enough, that this is not a good enough path for me to go down, you know, like, and I think it's difficult with Sally down the road, who her mum will be like, yeah, be an artist, babe, like, why don't I buy you that canvas that you want, and why don't I buy you all these shades of different colours, and you just go and have fun with it, babe, you know. I think that installs in your child that they can be whatever they want to be, they can do whatever they want to do. But when you put restraints on that child of like, no, that's not a good career path, that's not really going to make you money, or that's not really acceptable, what that kind of installs in that child is that is not of, you're coming from a place of lack, you know, you're not coming from a place of abundance. And I feel like even coming from an African household,
say it again. That was preaching.
But do you think if your mum was like supportive, you might not have had that fire in your belly though?
No, because I feel like watching my mum having to struggle in this country, I still would have had the fire in my belly, but I just feel like you would be coming from a place of abundance. And I feel like in the black community, a lot of the time we do come from a place of lack. And that's kind of what you're seeing in society at the moment, through our black men, through the generation, through new gen, through like even from a career path now. But the benefits is that, like, yes, there are many of us now that are institutionally are in positions where we can change the conversations and change the dialogue. Even with me, like who I work with, who I choose to work with, what kids am I bringing into the network, like who am I supporting, like all of that stuff matters, you know. And I think when you're coming from a place of especially with what I can only speak from a Nigerian background. Like, I remember when I was growing up, my mum used to be like, look at your cousin Jennifer. Look what she's doing. Your cousin is doing this, and your daughter's doing over here, doing this. This person is getting A, you get A. Why didn't you get A star? Like, you know, them ones is always just like coming from a place of lack. And I know they don't mean it in that sense, you know, because they just want to be the best, because they've obviously struggled to come to a country. But also, I think a lot of the mistakes that our parents made is they came to the Western world thinking that they were going to just, those traditions of what they grew up with were going to be able to just be implemented here, and it doesn't always work, you know. If that's like me moving to Alaska, coming from Nigeria, thinking I'm going to be able to maintain in a bikini because Lagos is hot, you know, it doesn't make sense. You have to adapt to your environment, and as much as they did the best that they could do, I think the social impact of that, and just even on your mind and how your mental state of how you think about things, it kind of changes the dynamic. and that from a subconscious place, you know, because sometimes you feel like you're coming a bit, like you're already stepping in to that industry 10 steps behind a bit, yeah, you know. So it's like you've got to do double the work because you're black anyway, but you've almost got to do quadruple the work because you're coming from a place of lack. Because you've capped yourself, you know. So I think even us as a race, like we don't think big. We think to like the discussion that we was having earlier when you was like, if I need to just make enough for potatoes, I'll go and make the potatoes and then that's it. Like we're not taught subconsciously to think big. We're not taught to be like, shit, the universe, you to buy the universe
factory
12 over. Like, do you know what I mean? To buy the world 12 over. Like, but that's just because our parents weren't equipped with those skills to make us think. Because everything is, well, I'm very like into like the universe and thoughts become things and like, you know, how what you project is what you get. Like I'm totally 1,000% behind that all the way, you know. And I feel like when you start to actually look at subconsciously like what was installed in us generationally and what was installed in our parents and what was installed in our grandparents and where that's come from, like they did the best with what they could do with what they had. We now, it's our responsibility to do the best of what we can do with what we have. So we have more accessibility, we have more ways to think about things. There's more than one way to skin a cat, you know, like you have to educate your mind, like you have to understand like the power of your mind to be able to like really, and when you sit down and you actually start to think about it, because these are some of the conversations I was having the other day in the sense of just like, like sometimes our traditions is what makes us unique, but also it's also a bit what holds us back. You know, it doesn't throw us into the front line thinking that you can take over the world, when really if they just tweaked it just a little bit, you know, just a little bit, because we still have the juice, we still have the source, that we are the culture. But the difficulty that I think with where we have to be careful, especially now that black excellence is a hashtag and black excellence is, you know, at the forefront of, we've always been the juice and the source. Like our culture has always been the juice and source. It's only now it's getting the recognition that it deserves. But on the flip side of that, I think that culturally, like we need to understand the mindset which comes with excellence. You know, being excellent at something means knowing your craft from beginning to the end. Do you know what I mean? Understanding how that business works and understanding that when you're doing things, you're thinking business first and just second. I think a lot of us, we think, oh, how's this is going to look? This is a good opportunity. It's going to look this. What's the business, babe? And I've had to learn that the hard way. Like in the last 2-3 years, I've had to learn it the hard way, because when you start to think about everything that you've done and you've been in an industry for 15 years, why have you not capitalized off the industry that you've in to the maximum that you could have if your mindset was right, if your mind had been trained? So you have to start to then think, sorry, can I swear? You have to start thinking like, what is it within my realms? And because I had that mindset of, oh, you know, we've seen our parents struggle, so you think, oh, just by doing this, you just want to live, you want to be able to maintain, go on a couple of holidays a year, buy a nice car, buy your house. Like when you're thinking, nah, like people are buying islands, like people are paying planes. Like there's no reason why like I should be paying, you know, £1,000 to go to Nigeria, but yeah, I can get a ticket to Vegas, which would be 9 hours for £300. How does that make sense? Do you know what I mean? Because they're shafting us, because they know like they're taking our money. You know, so it's like
it's their highest yielding route.
Highest yielding route. So that's why it's so expensive. But at the same time, it's like, what are we actually doing as a culture to come together to benefit ourselves? Like, you know, and that's why it's been so important to relay, like actually going home, but it being a cultural exchange, like bringing people here too, you know, and exchanging so that people get the best of both worlds. And I think especially for our culture, like it's only going to grow if we understand that our mindset needs to be excellence, not just black, you know, sometimes, which I think is hard because we've been almost cupped at a certain level. Like there's usually only one. Like I remember like trying to pull clothes for Skep 15 years ago, and none of them brands wanted to loan. None of those brands wanted to loan to any grime artist. Everything would be, oh no, that's too urban. 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 And now that's all they want. Now they want urban front row. Front row at the show, urban. You know? But now it comes with the hashtag black excellence. You know? But it's like, okay, well, cool. And that's what I was saying to Ace. Like, I've worked so long in nightlife. If my brain was right, if my mindset was right, I should have a club. I should have a club now. I should have my own club. I've built so many people's clubs, businesses, nightlife. Why don't I have a club?
It's coming.
Amen. You know?
Amen.
Amen. So that's where my mind is at now. That's what I was like, I'm not trying to build no one else's clubs no more. I ain't trying to build no one else's nightlife. If I'm gonna really be talking about black excellence, then let's go. Let's step forward and let's push you as far as you can with what you've got. But understanding business, like we're not taught how to understand business. And sometimes when you look at how these business people move, you're like, rah, it's not that hard, you know. It's not that hard. As Nigerians, you know how to flip. As Jamaicans, we know how to flip quick. We know how to flip. Here's £1, you make it into 10. Here's £10, you make it into 100. You make that 100 into 1,000. So the maths is there. The mentality is there. It's just
scale.
applying
It's
it.
scale, you
It's
know.
scale.
It's scale.
And because we're taught to just maintain, like all of us were, like what I was in my household anyway, you just make enough to just be easy, be nice. Like you can pay your bills. If you've got a bit of extra, you can go on holiday, like, you know. But it's just like, now your mindset needs to be big. Like, if you think big, you're going to get big opportunities. You're going to get
Bigger
big.
than potatoes, cuz. Come on.
You're going to go on cabbie this weekend, babe.
Basically, see that potato thing, it was a joke. And I worked all weekend, and I work more hours than all you together, and I'm loaded. But I just try and play humble.
Low-key one.
Yes.
I hope so.
Yes.
Wow.
Pockets fat. Every night, pockets
I
fat.
hope so. I hope so. I hope so.
No, but I wasn't.
No, that is
Mad inspiration.
that is-
Thank you.
Yeah.
Man.
You know, have you ever been to church and you've heard the pastor speaking and you think, right, that message is for... I honestly feel like there was something you said about 5 minutes ago that really hit home to me, so I really do appreciate everything you just said. I don't want to say it because people will feel like I'm a waste man. They're like, why didn't you think that before? But there was something you said that has proper unlocked something in my brain. So
You know what it is, though?
if I'm a millionaire next year, I owe it
See
to
the
you.
difference?
Yeah.
You can cut me my 10%. That's it. That's all. Let's talk business. Let's talk business. Let's talk business.
Everything at the right time, innit?
sure.
Everything at the right time.
And I think like now we're only like learning. Like our generation is going to be the generation to unlock it, but I feel it's next gen that's going to be the generation that's going to blow off the doors and like come and fuck it up. Do you know what I mean? But the mindset has to be there, and that's why I'm kind of anti-drill music. But that's a separate conversation altogether.
Why are you
But
anti-drill? We've not really given that a proper go on this show.
I don't think I'm probably the best person to discuss
No,
it,
but
but
why-
I think
why
it's
don't you like
not
it?
really my kind of music. I know it's for new gen, but I just feel like what it glorifies is what we need to be moving away from.
Yeah.
That's my only thing.
How long have I been saying that for?
It's just what it glorifies.
How many times the man have shut me down?
No,
for
I'll
the
be
same thing?
honest. You know
Nah,
what? I'll
come
be
on,
honest.
bruv.
I'm for freedom of expression, but the problem is there's a limit. I feel like there needs to be for public safety. In any instance, like for public safety, in any like, you know, in terms of in real life, this in politics, like for public safety, that needs to be capped. And actually, Jill has pushed the limit of where freedom of expression meets public safety. Because it's like, they're talking about literally like charts, like Premier League of like killing people.
Yeah.
As almost celebrating it and making jokes about it on songs. And because of that, it's just like, actually, this is an issue of public safety now. This is not even about, this has gone beyond entertainment.
And that's like what it was in the States. A lot of it was entertainment. They would rap all of those song lyrics as entertainment, which is cool. Like, I still have a bit of problem with that, but when it's for entertainment purposes only, then that's cool. But when it's actually being actioned and people are like,
and it is,
this
though.
is real life action, and then I feel that's when we need to step in and then you start to think about systematically like how fucked is our race then, like really, like when you sit down and start to actually picture it, because first of all, like a girl learns her self-love from her dad, and when you think about us as a race, like we have the highest number of broken homes, like as a race. Like, you know, so then you think a girl learns her self-love from her dad. So if that dad is now missing, that's a chapter of her life that she's actually slightly broken. You know, even if your mum is going to teach you the self-love, it's not the same, because a girl learns it from her dad and a boy learns it from his mum. So when something there doesn't add up, already we're stepping into the world not 100%. Do you get what I mean? Then on top of that, when you now add the spice of traditions and your parenting, your parents' parenting on top of that, because essentially you're gonna be. I remember when I was growing up and I used to always think, oh my God, like my mum does my nutting, like, and literally now, like I can look at myself and be like, you're actually your mum's twin. Like I'm the same, like my mannerisms, like everything. Even the way I speak at 100 miles an hour. Apologies, but literally I speak like my mum at 100 miles an hour. You know, and you don't actually realize like how much the home impacts on who you are and who you become, but also like how you see the world and how now your kids are going to see the world. Do you know what I mean? So it's like systematically, like I'm actually scared for us at the same time, because yes, in one sense we're all moving into positions of power and we're trying to make a difference on the front in the business sector, but also in our homes, are we doing the same? You know, because once that girl doesn't have that self-love, that leaving that house with like feeling like, yeah, I'm a champion, I'm a queen, I'm a this, I'm a that. Where does she go? She goes to look for that in a man. So then, in my opinion,
I fully agree with you. I fully agree with you. I think where we've gone slightly wayward is by sitting back on the argument of we're making money. And we're changing lives. And my argument has always been that's not important though. Like you can't contribute to mashing down a set of people or a type of people
on a wayward mentality,
because you can go and buy a yard for your mum, or you've changed your life or whatever else, you know. So, but then it is education. It's the mind frame. It's and as Femi said, okay, we can entertain this to a certain limit, but what detriment is it having on the wider community? On you know, at the end of the day, yes, you know, you've made P and he's made P and she's made P and he's made P, but Reba, you lot are glorifying this madness. I remember me and Ace, well, all of us on this podcast spoke about a particular song where man's mocking people at a funeral of. You understand? It's like, nah, it's gone too far. As far as I'm concerned, it's gone too far now. It's like, and people, you know.
But do you know what the problem is though? Like, there's like Biggie songs where it's like, and we rap them. Our generation.
You know what the difference is?
You know, like our generation raps them, yeah.
But
and he's like, and like, it's like everybody dying.
But Femi,
like, you know, like,
but my argument to that was, is that that's not our reality. You see, gangster
That's
rap.
weird, Damon.
But
that's a wash excuse.
No, it's not a wash excuse.
No, I agree. But it's for entertainment purposes only, really.
You know what it is? You see them man in Baltimore, in New York, in Brooklyn, that's their reality. I'm not saying it makes it right, but you see when the man are running around talking about squeezing oozes and all them things, what are you talking about?
But Biggie and that were doing that too. And DMX had tunes where it was killing people.
But like, what I'm saying to you, what them man are rapping is their reality. You see what us...
So you feel like the proximity,
our reality.
So the proximity doesn't just. I think that's bizarre.
It makes a difference, bro.
Because it's still black people.
But
it's still Africans.
But no, it's still black people.
Again, but you're saying you're seeing it from a different. It's a bit like hunger in the world. When you're seeing like we were talking about the Oxfam advert, it's not on your doorstep, is it? Like it's not like you're not looking at your window and seeing all them flies and all them kids hungry.
Do you know what it is? It's like a film. It's like what we said before. It's like a film. When we're listening to gangster rap over there from a different part of the world, it's like a film. It is entertainment. As soon as I turn that off, then you understand when you got a man jumping out of cars and rolling around in explosions, cool. But your film, it's not that. Top Boy's not that. Top Boy's real. So when we turn off Top Boy, I'm going out onto that same estate. I'm seeing those same youths. You understand? So
it's scaring your people.
So to see it, it's like, hold on, wait, this is real. This ain't a joke. This is real. We can't be glorifying this knife crime. And when they're talking about, I walk with my Rambo and this and that, it's like, these are the same youths that
I just think it's to the young man that go through it, and there's a time span where you do go through it. It's a fashion, isn't it? It's a fashion, and it's a popular fashion.
Do you know what I've always also said as well? You know, I've recently moved back to South. See, when I was living up here and I was driving to South to go visit my mum, you know, I would have to consciously play a certain type of music. You know, subliminally, music affects your mind, you know. You see, if you're driving and you're listening to some form of aggressiveness, it comes out in your driving. It blatantly does. I've spoken to these young people and it's like, you see, when you're listening to that music, does it make you think a particular way? Yes, of course it does. They've all said it does. They've all still turned around and said, but I still have choice to go and behave like that. But when you constantly...
Feed your mind with that.
Feed your mind, whether it be film, whether it be
what you're
porn,
watching,
whether it be music, it has an effect
on your consumption.
It really does have an effect on us. Blatantly does.
This has been awesome.
This is
This has been a really good episode, man. Thank you so much, Irene. How do they find you if they want to find you and they want to find out what's going on with you?
Socials at Irene TTYA.
What's next though?
Quickly, my collection comes out next month on ASOS. What are we working on? Many things. Loads of events, curating a few bits and bobs on a wider, bigger scale. We're thinking global now. And yeah, be in Lagos very soon.
I was today years old when I found out that ASOS stood for As Seen on Screen.
Seriously?
I never knew that. I swear, I never knew that.
It was actually called that back in the day.
I was today years old. That's amazing. I learned so much today. Thank you so much, man.
No worries. Thanks for having me. That's it. That's all.
You are the greatest.
No problem. Wow, it's 11:15.
You're welcome. You're welcome back anytime.
Thank you so much.
Welcome back anytime.
Rate, subscribe, comment. Peace.
Peace. Gosh, I have to put you on.
I thought